Everyone's been wanting to hear about this. Okay. This is in regards to the viral video that got released late last week, because there was a viral video highlights how non-payment is sinking cannabis businesses. And just for disclosure, we do have the video, but because the video was not legally obtained, I don't believe that we have the rights to play it. So we're not gonna play it. But even in the article that I took, they didn't even put a link to the video so that people could see it, because they didn't feel that it was appropriate.
Say it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell all the people in the chat, please don't post the video in the chat. Please do not post the video in the chat right now. Yeah. Do not go on to the chat and post the video.
But pretty much everyone in the cannabis has struggled to get paid at some point in time. For many operators, the problem can have serious consequences, particularly small brands giving products to retailers on terms and counting on the money they're due to survive another day. The issue has been top of mind as of late, particularly in California. One of the state's biggest weed distributors, Herbal, folded in the middle of 2023, leaving countless brands and retailers in the lurch. Later that year, delivery service Grassdoor abruptly ceased operations. Many brands wondered if they would ever receive payment for their goods. Things came to a head last week when a video of a dispensary chain owner seemingly bragging about saving money by not paying mom and pop brands went viral, saying they're going under anyway. The video, which was likely taken and dismantled without consent, could have been taken out of context. However, the manner in which the operator was speaking struck a nerve with the cannabis community, especially at a time when family farms are going under and towns in the Emerald Village are on the brink. Many on social media called for a boycott of the chain and the blacklisting of the operator. Others came to his defense, saying they were paid on time, regardless of the fact that the episode begs a bigger question. Is non-payment a symptom of bigger problems plaguing the cannabis industry? And more so, what can be done to rectify the situation? Overregulation, aggressive taxation, lack of funding, and marketing censorship are just some of the things preventing the space from thriving. It's almost as if legal cannabis was doomed from the jump. Unfortunately, not much is being done to fix the incredibly broken system, and any potential help seems light years away. When Wall Street hedge funds and airlines take a hit, they get bailouts, but no one's bailing out the cannabis industry. Some argue that the failure of cannabis companies would never have the same ripple effect as a major financial institution, but the economic impact is still considerable. Weed is a multi-billion-dollar business employing over 428,000 people nationwide, according to MJ Biz Daily, and for every $10 spent in a dispensary, another $18 will be injected into the economy. Often at the local level. Despite these facts, the powers that continue to keep the powers that be continue to keep the industry down. There's no excuse for not paying people, but perhaps if the cannabis industry were designed to succeed, this problem wouldn't be happening. If so-called mom and pop brands were set up for success, retailers wouldn't be banking on their closure to save a buck. And some lawmakers are trying to offer their version of a life raft with descheduling or rescheduling, a promise of hope. However, operators need help now before things reach critical mass. At this point, something's got to give. Perhaps the legislators and regulators understood the impact of their indifference. They would be more moved to act, or maybe they never cared about weed to begin with. And I want to thank our very own Rochelle Gordon for putting this piece together. Very, very much appreciated. And what do you guys think about this whole video with off the charts with the owner saying that, not to pay small time vendors because they're probably just going to go out of business by the time their bills are due anyway. What do you guys have to say about this?
Man,
it's just proof of what we've been seeing happen all along.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I watched that video and I was like disgusted with it. It was almost like watching like a movie and watching like like an evil Disney villain or something, like talk about how they're gonna just, you know, destroy the village.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just some sick, it was just sick. To have an individual like that at the helm of a company only tells me what that culture of that company probably is, because in most companies the culture is top down, and when you have an individual like that that is causing suffering and preying on the smaller companies and preying on the smaller businesses and hoping that they go out of business so that he can steal their inventory, that is despicable to me. And not only is that despicable, it's not a form of business. You're just a thief. You're not a businessman. And your whole company is a bunch of thieves, if you ask me. So that's my personal opinion on it. Anybody who has any association with that company or any dealings with that company should immediately cease, because you see the underbelly of what the company looks like.
Luke hit the nail on the head, right? And it's a way of thinking that I also agree with, which is like the fallout for people who are affiliated or do business with this company will likely be extreme, and anybody who has interest will likely want to distance themselves in a very meaningful way. There's no way in God's green earth that that video can be taken out of context. There is no alternative context. Let's be really, really clear about that. Now, I did business with this person when I was the director of real estate at a previous cannabis development company, and he was not challenging to work with. He was professional, but we didn't have any reason for him to want to bite the hand that was feeding him as we were giving him retail eligible locations, right? So everybody's on their best behavior when they have the reason to be on their best behavior. But I think Luke really, really touched on it, which is there's no way that anybody can afford to be affiliated, because this is the kind of thing that only happens in regulated cannabis. In unregulated cannabis, this guy would not be here to talk like that. He would have been taken care of. Somebody would have done something related to some IOUs, and this guy would have had some serious repercussions and consequences. And so probably the reason why we can't post the video is because it looks like it was taken from security footage, internal, from a conference room.
That's
but
correct.
There is no way this can be taken with any other context other than the obvious, based on the words that are coming out of this person's mouth. And so this person said the quiet part out loud. They revealed who they are, how they approach the industry, and what they really think. And unfortunately, for anybody who's doing business with him, I don't think this one is going away in a 24-hour or 48-hour or even 1-week news cycle. And I think the people who do business with this company and with this person are going to be forced to distance themselves. And I don't think that that's a terrible thing, because again, I think in an underregulated or unregulated industry, this guy would have got his ass beat and then some.
Now, Yarrow, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, because you said there's absolutely no way that this could be taken out of context. What if prior to he was actually telling a story about someone else?
You would not waste your time with 6 people around a table, all on the clock, running your business in a conference room to tell stories.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
That's not the nature of the video.
He actually quotes money, actual dollar amounts that they saved.
Yeah. The other thing too, when I first heard the video, when I watched the footage, you know, of course I'm deeply rooted in championing women-owned businesses, right? And something that is very interesting and telling is I don't know a single women-operated company in cannabis anywhere in the U.S. or beyond that is considered, you know, big. They're all small operated companies. And last year, when we threw the very first California cannabis women's competition, we had 35 brands submit. 35. This year, less than half of those businesses are still standing. This year's competition had 64 entries. Bunch of newcomers. It'll be very telling to see what happens when they're here next year, or if they are. There is such a significant number of women-owned and operated businesses that they go into these dispensaries. We are asked to front product and get paid on the back end, and then we have to fight for our money. And some of the biggest operators in the state are guilty of this. So I'm glad we caught somebody on video. finally bragging about this as a method, and it's not an accident. This guy knew exactly what he was doing. It's not taken out of context. He really ought to be blackballed, and same with anybody else who is supporting his decision making. To sit on camera and not even on camera, for he didn't know he was being videoed, but to sit there and to brag as that being one of your methods of maintaining your business, you deserve to lose your business.
Interesting. Any final thoughts?
It's the free market, Jason, right? It's the free market.
It is the free market. It is the free market. I think the free market would, but at the same time too, I don't think that the average cannabis consumer that shops at retail stores is paying attention or even has this on any of their radar to begin with. And so that
you are correct. But I will say this, it's not the average cannabis consumer that's going to have the effect here. It's all the ancillary businesses around Off the Charts. So all the brands, all the distros, all the cultivators, everybody that has a tie to them, that's where the faucet, excuse me.
All right,
so I
have one more question for you then, Luke. If it's going to get cut off that way, let's kind of just play this out a little bit. If let's just assume that OTC is paying its bills, and so let's just for the sake, because in the video they say that they pay their top 30 brands or whatever, the big ones that they know that are stable, and so I assume that in your comments you're referring to these 30 type of brands to pull their resources from their store. Am I correct on that?
Personally, every single brand that messes with Off the Chart. If you are a brand that is being paid by Off the Charts, while other women-owned, minority-owned, and small businesses are having their throats cut at your benefit, please stop doing it. Please stop feeding that machine, and please separate yourself from nefarious business like that. It's not a good look.
So I have a question.
Stand by your fellow operators, please.
So I have a question, Luke. Would it be necessarily the smartest thing to do in the distributors, in these different distribution companies that would be bringing these different 30 brands or so to retailers? Hold on. Would it be in their best interest if OTC is one of the paying stores for their brands when not paying vendors is happening across, all retails across the state?
I hear what you're saying, and that's absolutely a consideration that would be made, right? But also you have to understand that he said he's paying the top 30 brands, which is the big dogs, right? The big dogs can afford to not mess with Off the Chart.
Yeah, with
the big dogs are getting money all over the state. You can afford to not mess with Off the Charts and take a stand. Put 10 toes down on this issue and take a stand, and the rest of the community will be behind you.
Yep.
Look at that. Yarrow, Matthew, you guys with us?
I'm 100%.
Just listening.
Okay.
Luke Mandy making perfect sense.
I'm 100% with Luke. 100% with Luke. I think when Luke said what he just said, he spoke in so many ways for so many of us. And I would just take it one step further. You don't affiliate with people who don't support small brands, especially social equity and women brands, but all of the small brands, and stop getting your picture taken with convicted rapists. The industry needs to expect more from the people it does business with. And we have to have a set of standards. Standards are the minimum glue, the mortar between the bricks that hold us together. And people have to ask themselves, what are their standards? And if their standard is just about the dollar, and so they do business with this company, that says too much about them. And I agree with Luke. I think he said it perfectly.
And I will say this, in OTC's defense, they did come out with some type of comment on social media afterwards saying that they would be paying all of the brands that they owe money to. So ultimately, hold on, it's going to get better. So if you are a small brand that has not been paid by OTC, make sure that you reach out to us. And maybe we'll put together some type of story in regards to that. If that ends up happening to be the case, because we want to make sure that that small mom and pop businesses definitely get their money and what is deserved to them. We know it's a very, very tough market out there, and inflation doesn't help.
And the CEO of Off the Charts. If you feel like you were taken out of context, then come on High at 9.
Yeah,
and
you're more than welcome. Yeah, you're more than welcome to come on. We'll do a special little thing in regards to that, and we'd be more than happy to have you on if you wanted to do that, as well as give us permission to play the tape. So then that way you can have the proper, propers on
That's
everything.
how you would take it out of
Yes,
context.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, on that, we are going to close out today's show. Thank you all so much for joining us. High at 9 News, America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Thank you to all of our sponsors, our correspondents, and Yarrow and Matthew St. Germain and Adam with the technical support over here, figuring out a way to get Matthew and Yarrow to join us today, seeing as how their internet is out because of this big old storm that we're facing. And so, thank you all.
Not our internet, our power.
Yes, it's
our
the same
electricity.
Same thing. Same thing, Yarrow.
Laura, what you got to do is you got to hop the fence and run an extension cord to your neighbor's electricity.
Yeah, they're all out. No, the whole thing is out. Yeah, they'd have to run an extension cord to like 3 counties down.
Exactly.
Yeah.